today, artist Deb Chaney, and she's an elected member of the Society of Canadian Artists, and she's been a member since 2007, and she's been painting for over 10 years, both large and small layered mixed media abstract paintings on canvas and paper. Her work is exhibited at Switch Boutique in Beverly Hills, California, and in Infinity Salon in Vancouver. And in 2010, Deb was commissioned by Rainmaker Films. Her art is held by private collectors throughout the world, and she's predominantly self-taught, though she has enjoyed the privilege of studying with several prominent artists like Anne Baldwin, Bob Burge, and Adolfo Girala. She is also a published writer. She has a couple books, the Little Inspiration book, Ideas to Empower Women, hence the superhero song I played just now, or the track it anyway, and is a contributing author to Sand in My Bra, Funny Women Write from the Road, which I love that title. And as well as maintaining her own studio practice, she teaches workshops and mentors private students. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so impressed that you're here today because you have an opening for a show tonight.
Yeah, we just finished setting it up.
So, wow. So can you tell us a little bit about the show and what's being exhibited there?
The show is called Little Gems, and it's being held at the Beaumont Studios, which is around 5th and Cambie in Vancouver. And it's a show with Rosia Dadazadeh. Hopefully I said her last name right. She's been coaching me for a while. And Rosia and I put together this show called Little Gems, and a lot of the works are based on the style of paintings that we teach in our workshop together, which is an advanced abstract painting workshop called From Concept to Completion. And so we put this show together, and we just actually, it's actually being set up while we talk right now.
Right.
And it will open tonight at 8 o'clock at the Beaumont.
Wow, that's really impressive. You have a full day today, and your mom. And can you tell us more about your art and your involvement in the upcoming Artists in Our Midst?
Yeah, Artists in Our Midst is being going, I think, at least 20 years strong. You may have more background.
I think that's right, actually.
Yeah,
it's been going quite a while.
Yeah, it's a very solid organization that started on the west side and is now sprawling into Yaletown and other parts of Vancouver. And we have two fundamental shows coming up at the end of this month, and the first is the one at the Roundhouse Community Center downtown, and there'll be about 60 artists participating at that beautiful venue right by the water there, and exhibiting their works for 2 days there, the last Thursday and Friday of this month. And then the artists open their studios for that last weekend in April, and the public are welcome to do the tour. There are flyers all over Vancouver. I did actually post a flyer on the event section of my website that people are able to download, and it has a map of all the studios that will be open during that weekend as well. Yeah.
Can you give us the website?
Yeah, so for Artists in Our Midst, it's www.artistsinourmidst.com, and or actually maybe .ca. As I say this, I hesitate.
Yeah.
No, I got it right the first time.
Right,
.com.
yeah.
So artists, ARTIST, and then in our midst, MIDST.com, and all the information for the 2-day exhibit in Yaletown, as well as the 2-day open studios are there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And wait, how much does it cost to go to the Artists in Our Midst?
It's completely free.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. So, how did you get hooked up with this group and with also with the show that you're doing today? How does that happen? Because you're busy.
Yeah,
you have lots of things going on.
That's a great question. It's a really fun answer. I worked at Opus Framing and Art in Granville Island when I first moved back to Vancouver for about a year. And one of the women, Deborah Bakos, who's on the board of Artists in Our Midst, you're shaking your head.
Yes, we interviewed her last year. Yeah.
Great. Well, you know Deborah, and she would come into Opus, and we would say hi, and she'd look at me and she said, "You need to join Artists in Our Midst." And I would look at her and say, "I'm really busy right now." But I got over being really busy and filled out their application and joined, and have no regrets since.
That's great. So, well, you guys do a lot of work, I know, because it's all volunteer run, and it's just just amazing. And about the show that you're doing, how did that happen?
I would give Rosia all the credit for the Beaumont show. She did for a small amount of time rent a studio at the Beaumont Studios and is friends with Jude, who is the director and runs it. And she very kindly invited me to come and do a show with her. So all the credit to Rosia on that count.
Right. Yeah. Well, one thing that I'm really curious about in your bio is about how you're primarily self-taught. So I'm guessing this must have begun very early in your life. How did you get into art to begin with?
Well, actually, I have a science degree.
Yeah,
so
okay.
To throw you off there a little bit, I went to UVic for a degree in Earth and Ocean Science.
Okay.
And I basically was very creative as a child and loved doing art and projects and then in high school, even though I was mainly focused in science, I was always doing fairly artistic things. I sort of have this one memory in high school of this teacher doing a skit, and she was imitating all the 12th graders, and she came out carrying this English literature book, and all these pressed leaves started falling out of it, and that was me that she was imitating. So I think it's always been a part of me.
Yeah.
And then later in life, just reading, very inspired by Sark, if you're familiar with her books.
Not so much. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, just she's I would say a self-help or an inspirational writer, and very much supportive of creative people living in their passion.
Okay.
And just reading her books and seeing what she did, and I, in my 20s saying, wow, I want to do that too.
Yeah. And
just really switching over from geology, environmental geology, into a more creative life of writing and painting.
Right. Well, that's pretty impressive. It's really neat how well-rounded you are, too. And do you feel like your science background influences your art much?
Oh, yeah. Right now, in particular, I was meeting with Kevin at Chroma Paints, who you may be familiar with. Chroma is a small paint manufacturer on Granville Island, and he's a chemist and a scientist. And we were talking about transparencies and glazing and some of the things I teach in my workshops. And we were talking about looking at paint under a microscope, and he says it's like looking at rocks, and it brought me back to my mineralogy course in geology, where we were looking at slices of rocks where paint minerals are very similar to little gemstones and have different transparencies and reflectivities of light which affect your painting. So there, all these little links coming in between my science and art, that it's very exciting.
That is very exciting. And I mean, I saw some of yours on your website, and it's just like the sort of the water theme sometimes. It seems like it might, and I didn't know about your earth and ocean science background, but that kind of makes some sense anyway. I don't know if that one particularly was linked at all, but it seemed kind of related. But anyway, so we have queued up a song that Deb Cheney, artist who we're speaking with right now, has spoken to me about. So can you tell us a little bit about Les Choristes? Is that how you say it?
I think it may be Choristes, but I'm not 100% sure. It's based on a French film. Yeah. And we have relatives in France, and I've always been intent on my daughter, Ruthie, who's 7,